Hey everybody, it's Sam from Wrestling Overtime with your Raves and Rants review of AEW Dynamite on April 29th, 2020. And of course, we've got Chris Jericho and Tony Schiavone as our commentators for tonight. They started off with an awesome video package to open up the show, kind of comparing and contrasting Darby Allin versus Cody, since that is gonna be the opening match tonight. I absolutely love this. Probably because I am a huge Darby Allin and Cody fan. I know that many of you have listened to me from the get-go here on different episodes talk about these two. I know that Cody took on Sammy first to start AEW, but I can't help but think probably the Darby Allin Cody match that went 20 minutes to the time limit and put a tie on both their records has to be at least in the top 10 of AEW matches so far, if not in the top 5. It was an unbelievable match, and I think it really set the tone for both of them in AEW. It showed the Cody that we had been seeing on the indies, and anyone that had been following him in WWE had hoped him to be. It showed him being a star, being someone that you could set a foundation on. However, that match also, I think Darby was 22 or 23 at the time. You saw the future. He reminds me so much of a young Jeff Hardy. It's not even funny as far of the lengths he's willing to go to please the crowd, up the enthusiasm, and really show off his athleticism. And I love his character, his gimmick, and I can't help but think that it's part of him. Usually the best characters or best gimmicks are a part of you on the inside that you ramp up to about 100. And I can't help but think that this is part of Darby Allin, and I absolutely just love it, especially when he talks about being relentless no matter what. You can't help but feel his passion for wrestling. So, like I said, this is the first match of the night. This is the semifinals for the TNT Championship Tournament. I absolutely love Jericho on commentary. I don't know. I know we're going to talk about in an episode here in the near future about news and updates. We're going to talk about AEW going back to live broadcasts. And part of me doesn't want to, because Jericho and Tony Schiavone have been so unbelievably awesome throughout this. I am going to miss them. Yes, I miss JR. I can't wait for JR to come back. Can't wait for Taz to come back. Sorry, you guys know how I feel about Excalibur. I really wish they would just let him be, I don't know, a special correspondent, an interviewer, I don't know, but find something somewhere else for him to do, because I want my ties back if I can't have Jericho. But anyway, Jericho's commentary, especially when, Darby and Cody are getting into it on the outside, and Jericho is talking about how Cody basically knew Brandy was right there and let her get hurt. That he shoved Darby into her, and that Cody can't be trusted. I absolutely love it. I love him still being himself, still being the leader of the Inner Circle, and giving us a heel commentator. But I also absolutely love how he breaks down, and I think that's what I love about Taz, how he breaks down how the wrestling moves feel, how, it can hurt your knee, how he described a kick to your hamstrings as being like someone sticking their knuckle into it only times 100. I love that. I love how him and Shivani talked about how Darby and Cody are great technical wrestlers. The moves that they were doing, the counter moves that they were doing, I feel like it paints such a better picture and it gives you a better match. I loved Darby punishing Cody's knee and really making that a focal point. I don't know that we've necessarily seen Darby do that. I thought that was another side of him, and a side that I want them to explore with Darby Allin's character. I really, really do. Because before, it's how much pain can Darby, take and still come back. And I liked this match because Darby was actually using technical moves or counter moves to actually get at Cody's knee, and loved it. Brandy comes back out bringing the water bottle, which I loved it. Jericho immediately drew attention to it and was like, why does she have a water bottle? Because that's what my head was screaming. I know she's hurt. Does she need water? Well, I think it shocked me when you see Cody take off the cap and drink some. And I'm like, hello, Cody. You're in the middle of a match, dude. And you're not in there with Marco Stunt. You're in with Darby Allin. So it really, with Jericho screaming about it and how Darby takes it and basically smacks him in the head with it. Loved that. Couldn't believe Cody got up to do Darby's own coffin drop. I do like how he climbed up there kind of gingerly and turned around and looked to see where Darby was. When you see Darby do that move, you do not see Darby glancing behind him and measuring and making sure he's doing it okay. He just goes for it. But I did love Cody taking the good old college try and doing a coffin drop. Loved that Darby got his knees up and immediately goes to do a coffin drop of his own. And it really showed these two's creativeness, I guess, that Darby does the coffin drop as Cody rolls him. And Cody's kind of, on his side pinning Darby and how he got the 1, 2, 3. Because I don't think anyone really expected the match to end on that or at that point. I know I didn't. And so when Cody got the 1, 2, 3, I was like, oh, I just saw a great move there. And I think it's something that true wrestling fans will enjoy and really like. I called it last week. I told you guys I really think that Cody was going to pull this off. They have been selling Jake Roberts from the get-go, introducing Lance Archer and mentioning Cody over and over. And that's one thing I like about AEW is they take a string, and if you're paying attention to it, that string is becoming a rope that, they're using to build and interweave a story I love, and it may not happen for a month or 2 months or 6 months. But if you're paying attention, you're watching that story grow from just a little string, a little comment. And that's what I absolutely love about AEW. Now, of course, there's a lot of you out there that are listening to me and saying, yeah, Sam, that's what I hate. I absolutely hate that. I hate that they foreshadow their stories. Well, my comeback to you is, at least they have stories. At least their stories build to make sense and come to fruition, which in a lot of promotions you don't see. You don't see a story have a beginning, middle, and end. A lot of times you pick it up in the middle, or sometimes you even pick it up at the end, and you're like, what's the story again? What is this? Where are we going? And I think that's what I grew up on, and that's what I'm enjoying. I'm loving it. Absolutely loved. We come back from commercial, went right in, didn't go to the commentators or anything, just immediately went into the Scorpio Sky story video package that they started telling. And I hated, though, that it wasn't as long as the last one. Not sure that it told as much detail. It talked about how Scorpio Sky joined SCU and how Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian had been a tag team for a while, and it was a little hard kind of joining them, jumping in and kind of figuring things out, and wasn't sure whether the fans would accept him. I know that was a hard video package kind of to sell, because they become SCU as a threesome in Ring of Honor, and I'm sure Ring of Honor wouldn't give them any footage. I just wish, I don't know how, but I wish we could have gotten Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian to make some comments, send in some video about what they like about working with him and training with him and his belief. Do love that they filmed him at the very end talking about how he doesn't want to be good or even just great. He wants to be a legend. And I believe that. If you watch the video package in the beginning, Scorpio Sky talked about how, last week he grew up wanting to be a wrestler and how he almost gave it up because he just wasn't getting any chances. And I truly believe that he's going to take every chance AEW gives him. And with his athleticism and his willingness to learn and his willingness to devote time. And I think that's the thing that I've heard and read about in so many different articles, is that Scorpio Sky hangs around with a lot of other guys. You even saw him out with Tony Khan. I think it was back in late January, early February, with a group of guys, them having a drink and talking. He wants to learn. He wants to learn all aspects too, and I really respect that, and am a Scorpio Sky fan, hoping that he gets his chance and that we can see him and he continues down this path of telling good stories and having great matches. And then we get MJF. I know, so many of you out there love to hate MJF. And it's because he's better than you. And you know it. That's great. I absolutely love MJF. I am so glad he will be back next week. He has been in quarantine so that he can drive down, and he, from what I understand, is gonna be live on May 6th. He got stuck, obviously, in the travel ban up in the Northeast and hasn't been able to make it down for any of the tapings or anything that they did in May. So I have been following and love that he stayed on our TV. He stayed on our Twitter, talking about his injuries, and he is in, our thoughts. And he is living rent free in a lot of you guys' heads. He really is, and I absolutely love hearing that his injury scare of his hang now is so much better, and that his doctor told him that it's better than ever before. However, cannot believe that he now has a neck injury where he nicked his neck shaving. I absolutely can't believe it. I know how much MJF will be excited to hear that barbers are going to be opening up soon, and that he will be able to get his shaves by professionals then and will not have to worry about bleeding out. So I am so excited to get MJF back live and in person, and hopefully in the ring. But I'm glad that we have been getting Wardlow. We got to see our next match, which was Wardlow versus Mustafa. Wardlow is unbelievable. Sit down and think about it. What is Vince McMahon known for? What does Vince McMahon want in a wrestler? Think about all the stories you've heard about how much he hates short wrestlers. He hates flippity floppers. He hates wrestlers that physiques aren't unbelievable. Correct? Someone like Darby Allin, he would want to flick away with, one of his fingers. But when you think about it, WWE doesn't have what Vince wants. AEW actually has. Sit down and think about that. Think about Jake Hager, Wardlow, Lance Archer, Brody Lee. I know there's one more out there I'm forgetting. Luchasaurus. I knew there were 5 that I had thought about earlier. These are athletic big men that have the physiques, can not only throw you across the ring or from the wrestling ring to people in the crowd, but they can climb up and do maneuvers off, the ropes and everything. I love this section of AEW. It is going to get wild, I think, once everything gets back to the new normal, and we can have these big men just beating on each other. Absolutely can't wait. Throw Dustin Rhodes in there. He's as tall and stout as them. But Wardlow, man, this should have been a quick match. I'm joking. He let Mustafa get, 2 offensive moves? Because after that, he hit him with his knee and just about knocked his head off. And then won with an airplane spin that wasn't as awesome as what it was last time, because Mustafa was a little bit heavier. he didn't fly quite as well. But still, I mean, the airplane spin was pretty awesome, I've got to admit. Then we get to see the Bubbly Bunch, Part 3. And I love how they are arguing over who won the Flim Flam Challenge last week. Now, I thought they all agreed last week that Sammy won it, hence why Sammy has his hand sanitizer. But I do like how they're arguing that, they got a lot of people on Twitter saying, no, maybe Chris Jericho won it. Well, Chris, I hate to break it to you. I don't think he did. I think Sammy did throw in a couple moves that you just couldn't do. And so I think he took it. But love it that Chris Jericho says we have to have a Manitoba Melee. And, of course, I'm like all the rest of you. I'm like, Manitoba Melee? What? And I'll tell you, I just about reached for my phone because I thought, Chris Jericho is Canadian. Manitoba is in Canada. Maybe this is a wrestling thing that maybe the Heart Dungeon came up with or somebody came up with. Or it's a hockey term, and I just don't know what it is. And luckily, I left my TV on. I did not, hit pause or pick up my phone because I found out real quick that a Manitoba Melee is you hitting people through the phone. And so we see different moves being done by everyone in the inner circle except for Chris Jericho. Everybody, from Santana and Ortiz and Sammy and Jake even, to then it goes to a lot of others, which I thought for a minute, I was like, oh, Inner Circle is gonna beat up different AEW members through the phone. I thought that as soon as they hit the librarian, who to me is just sad, and I wish they would have beat him up. But anyway, I loved how they went to the librarian, to the Jungle Boy, to Luther, to Sonny Kiss, and then Lufa Negro, and then we had Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian. We had a couple people in there that I don't know who they were. I'm really thinking one of them was maybe a Fozzy band member, but maybe not. I don't know. Then Hornswoggle, we saw Vicky Guerrero. Who else did you see? You guys need to write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com or hit me up on Wrestling Overtime Twitter or Facebook, because like I said, there were a couple people I didn't recognize, and I was like, who is that? And I actually rewinded my DVR and was like, I'm not recognizing him. One guy, even when they showed him, he was already taking a kick, and he had his head down and kind of kept it down as he delivered his. And I was like, oh, I definitely didn't know who that was. I didn't even see his face. So I need you guys to tell me who else was part of the Manitoba Melee. Then we get what I kind of have been waiting for. We get Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian, the two Englishmen, with Penelope Ford coming out with them against Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. No disqualification, no countouts. I have kind of been waiting for AEW to release, to allow Jimmy Havoc again to wreak havoc and pain all over the place, and this was the match. we got to see the chairs. I absolutely love Jimmy Havoc throwing everything. I mean, just anything he get his hands on, he was throwing. Whether it be a ladder, whether it be a chair. I love that he knocked Orange Cassidy out. I thought that was typical because he's kind of a slug, and of course he wouldn't be able to get his hands up in time to defend himself. But it also, I loved it because it gave Chris Jericho to go off on one of his rants about how he hates Orange Cassidy. I love Orange Cassidy. Don't write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com and tell me about Orange Cassidy. I love Orange Cassidy, but I did think it was funny that Havoc, knocked him out. Havoc, I just felt like it was in his element of hurting people. I was a little disappointed that he didn't bite everybody, but he punished Trent at one point. I mean, just let him have it. However, we all knew Orange Cassidy was going to appear, awake, was going to come alive, whatever you want to call it, and he took out Panoply and Kip. And because they had been throwing chairs around and everything, Chucky hits Havoc into a bunch of chairs, of course, for the win, because Havoc's about the only one that's going to take that shot. Loved it. I love Chucky. I think I've told you that before on many episodes. Absolutely hated, though, that Orange Cassidy had to sit down in his chair so that they were going to hug and ended up doing the thumb. Hated that. Really wish Orange Cassidy would get away from them and that Best Friends would get off my TV and break up and Chucky would go out on his own. I think he could be big if he was on his own. I know that most of you, again, hate her. I was to the point where I hated her. I was to the point where I hated her in a way I wanted her to get off my screen. I was ready to ball up, socks so that when she come on the screen, I could throw them at my TV. Britt Baker was someone, when she was a babyface, that I just absolutely hated to see. Now, I don't know. She's a heel I kind of love to hate. She has really taken this heel persona on, and I really like it. They did a video package, of course, showing her in her office and kind of doing a behind-the-scenes look of her role model segments that she has started. And she introduces us to Reba, whose real name is Rebel, and, of course, Britt Baker cannot be, she just doesn't have the time to really pay attention to people's names. And we learned from Rebel, of course, that she is the makeup artist and how Dr. Britt Baker is not all that great. And Baker overhears her and, of course, has to say, hey, you need to do that one again and tell them how great I am. And, of course, she does and talks about how Dr. Britt Baker is a wonderful role model. And then they go into the role model segment. And whoever thought this up, I don't know whether it was Britt Baker. It may have been Tony Schiavone. But whoever thought this up for her was unreal. I hope it was her. I hope, she came up with number 2. Not everyone can be a role model. I actually chuckled at this one out loud. I thought it was hilarious. Loved that glasswares cannot be role models, that only people should be wearing glasses are doctors to make them look smart, that other people should not, and they will not be role models if they are. And of course, she shows a picture of, her best friend, Tony Schiavone, wearing glasses, and how fat people and wannabes and snaggletooths cannot be role models. Again, has to show Tony Schiavone, has to show that a little photoshopping probably needs to be done on Tony Schiavone's gut, and how he has a little snaggletooth in the picture. Love the segment because Tony immediately starts selling it as soon as they go back to him and Jericho, and Jericho's like, what's up with that? And Tony is like, my teeth are not like that. She did something to that, and I've been trying to lose weight. I mean, Tony, perfect straight man, he absolutely was absolutely wonderful. And then we get the chairman. I like that we're finally getting to see Shawn Spears get on a winning streak. He stayed there for tapings, and they are using him now on AEW Dark. They're using him in the gambling segments. They're using him in the heel section of the cheering. They are now using him on AEW Dynamite section. I mean, I like that he is really getting his break. He took on Baron Black. It was a pretty good win for him. Felt like it showed off different ones of his skill. It showed the running C4, and he continues on this winning streak. And I think this is going to help him in the eyes of a lot of people, because they're seeing him on AEW Dark and Dynamite, and they're seeing him get wins, which in people's minds, AEW has now started conditioning us with releasing the rankings when they introduce people showing their records. So we're seeing him get on a little bit of a winning streak, and they're conditioning us to think, oh, he's moving up the rankings. He's going to be getting some shots here soon, and we're not going to be surprised at it. And I think there's going to be some of us that are going to be rooting for him. So I enjoyed that. I love that when we come back from commercial, we've got Taz, and we're doing a segment again where Taz is doing what Taz does best. And I'm so glad that AEW can see this. He's breaking down Murder Hawk Monster's finisher, the Blackout. He is showing you, how Lance Archer is doing this, and how Marco Stunt was a good 9.5, almost 10 feet in the air. And how when he did it to Colt Cabana, he still got him 9 feet in the air. I loved how he broke it down and was showing how Lance Archer was getting the landing angle and point right, and him flipping the guy actually over his head to get the right amount of power. I just love Taz. I miss him. Can't wait for him to be back on commentary. I hope it is next week. Please do not let it be Excalibur. I'm hoping and praying that it is Taz, JR, and Tony Schiavone. Then we get our Marco Stunt promo. And I like this. Marco Stunt, with him being 23 years old, he's really young. He's got a lot of athletic ability. Yes, he doesn't have the size, and I know a lot of people make fun of him for that. I think he's getting better. I loved how, he said, matter of fact, no, I don't have my partners. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy aren't on here. However, I still want to do this. I still want to wrestle. I still want to live my dream. I still want to be involved. And how he doesn't care who he has to take matches with. And they're talking about him taking on Lance Archer, and then how tonight he's taking on Brody Lee. And she asks, how much more can you take? And loved his selling, loved his acting ability, as far as him looking kind of downtrodden and not being sure of himself. And then he pops up, looks right in the camera, and says, I can take a lot more. And then we see him, of course, come out for his match against Brody Lee. And how, oh my, Brody Lee just puts it to him. So, here's the question of the week. Who killed Marco Stunt better? Lance Archer or Brody Lee? I mean, seriously. Who looked more menacing, more like a monster, killing Marco Stunt? Was it Lance Archer, who literally picked him up on the ring apron and threw him to the gun show across the barricade? Or was it Brody Lee? Me? I'm going to say it's Brody Lee. Lance Archer's job was to put him away as fast as he could, as painful as he could. However, I felt like, this week, Brody Lee played with him, punished him, put him in a lot of pain, and tried to kill him, but it was like a cat playing with a mouse. He was literally playing with him as far as how many different moves can I do that will cause him extreme pain. Loved the pop-up powerbomb. Not sure that it was supposed to be a pop-up powerbomb. I think that Brody Lee found out that Marco Stunt was so light that it became a pop-up powerbomb, but he almost put him through the mat. I mean, I thought he was going to slam him through the mat. So, my vote for the question of the week is I think Brody Lee did it better. But what do you guys say? Write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter or Facebook on Wrestling Overtime. Who killed Marco Stunt better, Brody Lee or Lance Archer? Then we immediately go into a promo with Jon Moxley. He's been out in Vegas and is walking around in the desert. And he reminds us, 8 weeks ago, he became the champion. Since we have been quarantined and been in lockdown, whatever, it just seems like so much longer. I mean, think about it. I feel like Jon Moxley has been the champion a lot longer than 2 months. And he is not afraid to talk about how things have changed. How he's been in lockdown, how he's had to think, how he has had time since the Jake Hager match to, really reassess things, and how he has enjoyed things and how he is thankful. And I loved it. He thanked his wife. Of course, you've got to thank Renee Young. And not only should he thank her for being his wife and for putting up with him during this quarantine, he should also put up with her because, one of the news things that come out this week was Renee Young admitting that WWE did not think it was funny that Jon Moxley scared her with the dog on backstage when she was videoing from home. they were not excited that he appeared on WWE TV. So he really needs to be kissing up to Renee Young. But anyway, love that he says he is putting everything in the truck or the car, and he is going to be live next week, May 6th. He is coming, and he wanted to issue a warning to anyone that's willing to step up and challenge him that, they're going to be in for it. And I wonder, who are they going to get for him to do his next program with? Now, what they do is they go to commercial, they come back, and they talk about next week, May 6th, what we're going to see. And one of the first things they talk about is we're going to see Frankie Kazarian from SCU take on Jon Moxley. I don't think that's the next program. Not with Frankie Kazarian being part of SCU. I think they're going back after tag belts. I really do. I think this is just to get Jon Moxley back in front of us to get a good, solid match under his belt. Frankie Kazarian is absolutely wonderful wrestler. He is a workhorse. He will put on a awesome match with Jon Moxley, so I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I don't see it being a program. Who do you guys think is gonna give him the next program? I'm thinking maybe Brody Lee. I really do. Because it's not going to be Jake Hager. That didn't go over well. Chris Jericho's with Matt Hardy right now, and the Inner Circle they're still wanting to do Blood and Guts versus the Elite. So that takes out, Sammy Guevara. I think Lance Archer and Cody are going to be doing programs with each other up until at least Double or Nothing. They've already kind of did Darby Allin. Then if you look at heels, who are you going to put him against if you make Jon Moxley into kind of a baby face? I think the only one that's really left is probably Brody Lee. Really? I mean, that's who I'm seeing. Now, 6 months from now, if I can't have him back into it with Chris Jericho, I'm going to throw a dark horse out there. I want him and Pentagon to go after it. I really do. I think that would be interesting. Anyway, back to next week. Next week, they're going to have a street fight with no rules. Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. And can't wait. I want to see that one. I hope Jericho and Guevara just beat them to death. I hope they truly take it out into the Jacksonville street, and I hope Jericho, the Painmaker, lays some pain to Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega. I can't stand them. Sorry, you guys know that. I hope they put some pain to them. But we are to our main event with Dustin Rhodes and Lance Archer for the TNT Championship Tournament semifinals. And I understand why they made this the main event after watching it. When I heard it was going to be the main event, I was like, man, why are they not doing Darby and Cody? Well, that was a good start. It really was. But after seeing this as the main event, I like it. They gave them more than enough time. I loved how I feel like they developed the Murder Hawk Monster truly with this match. I felt like both wrestled really smart. They put together a great match. They had scouted each other. They knew each other's moves. I couldn't believe, though, that Aubrey allowed a chair to be gotten out and that Lance Archer hit Dustin with the chair and it ended up cutting Dustin open. I'm not sure whether that was another gimmicked chair gone wrong or whether Dustin actually bladed. But whatever it was, it added to that because he didn't pour like he did in the Cody versus Dustin match from this last summer. It was just a little here and there, and it was just enough to show Lance Archer being sadistic and turning him more into a heel. And loved Archer just putting it to Dustin and Dustin selling. Loved Brandy selling. Loved Jericho saying, hey, Brandy better needs to watch herself. And we see Brandy, scooting back. They really, really, really put Archer on the map, I think, with this and got people to take him seriously. Dustin, of course, got some offense, but Archer immediately took back over, and we saw Dustin try to fight back. And with him being as big as he is, what is he? I think Dustin's, 6'5"? He showed that someone his size can hold his own, I guess, with Lance Archer, but Archer is going to bring the pain. And Dustin did a nice Canadian Destroyer. He calls it the Code Red. And they exchange blows in, the center of the ring, and Dustin did that snap suplex that he does, and then hit the crossroads. And I thought, are you serious? Have you guys been building Lance Archer up as this monster just to have him lose? And no, Archer kicked out on one, because I was really picking Lance Archer. But I'll be honest with you, part of me wouldn't have been disappointed with Cody versus Dustin again after the match they gave us last summer. But anyway, showing that Archer could kick out of that at one, the Canadian Destroyer, then the Crossroads, it told me, no, AEW knows where this story's supposed to go, and so we get Archer chokeslamming him and Dustin kicking out, but Archer then walked the rope and did a moonsault, and that's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, he's just unbelievably athletic for a 6'5", 6'6" guy. I mean, unreal. Loved how he went for the blackout on Dustin, but Dustin kind of slipped it, rolled Archer up, but it almost just seemed like it pissed Archer off, so he chokeslammed Dustin and immediately went over and ripped off the turnbuckle pad and popped Dustin twice into where the ring ropes come together. And of course we see QT Marshall come to ringside with a towel, and it looks like he's going to throw it in. He looks like he's going to MJF another Rhodes. He's going to throw the towel in, and Cody comes out of nowhere to take the towel away from him. And I like how they're going to tell that story. I mean, here is Cody put in a bind. Cody is his brother, who knows that his brother is in the process of getting killed by the murder hawk, and he probably should stop it. And people are yelling at him to stop it. However, Cody doesn't want to stop it. If his brother can come back and win, he doesn't want to choose his opponent because he's the one they're facing in the finals at Double or Nothing. And if he throws in that towel, it means he's automatically taking on Archer. And so for, 2 seconds, we get that quandary. Is Cody going to throw in the towel? However, Dustin grabs the towel as Archer pulls him away from Cody. And Dustin takes the towel from Cody, and Archer takes the towel from Dustin and wings it. So, no more decision for Cody because he doesn't have a towel to throw. But as, Cody is looking on, Archer grabs Dustin's head in the claw and just pounds his head into the mat, watching, Cody, and then puts the claw on him and holds him down for the count of 3 to pin him, and that is who Cody is taking on. Now, of course, we see Cody, Brandy, and QT Marshall immediately roll in the ring, check on Dustin. But now, as the show's going off the air, we've got our final set for May 23rd, Double or Nothing, Lance Archer versus Cody Rhodes. And basically, that is what Jake the Snake Roberts foreshadowed so many months ago when he interrupted one of Cody Rhodes' match, interrupted him, giving promos, interrupted him when he was backstage and everything, and really told him, Archer's coming for you. And now we've got a title on the line. And so we're at, who do we give it to? Do we give it to the monster that we have been building? Or to the founder, the foundation, the rock that we've been building AEW on, the passion, the heart and soul, the one the fans cheer for? Who do we give that belt to? And I love that back and forth that we're going to get for 3 weeks. Love it. Can't wait for Double or Nothing. Cannot wait. As, the next 3 weeks get to tell the story of what are they going to do at Double or Nothing. And I love it. I'm going to go ahead and end this. I know that you guys are wore out from listening to me. But that's kind of my rant and raves. And, I didn't do too much ranting tonight because I think I was just excited to have some storylines come to their junctions. And we got a match tonight. And a match to look forward to. And I like that. I like that. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me. Like I always tell you, please subscribe so that way you will get the latest episodes as they come out. You won't ever have to worry about checking this podcast. They will just automatically come to wherever you listen to your podcast at, whether that's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, it's Stitcher, Spotify, whatever you guys listen to. That way, you'll hear the latest, because the next episode we're going to talk about where is Tessa Blanchard going to go. Also, make sure that you rate and review this episode. Try to do it in Podchaser. I know so many of you listen on Apple Podcasts and you do it there. Thank you. I appreciate it. I want you to do it there. However, for people who do not have Apple Podcasts and have Android phones, it's easier for everybody, whether you're Apple Podcasts or you're Android phone user, or you use your desktop at work, or you use your smart speaker such as Alexa or whatever, to see the Podchaser reviews. So that's the reason why I always recommend Podchaser. But anyway, I cannot wait to talk to you guys soon. Don't forget to write me about anything, any questions, comments, problems, or protests at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com, or hit me up on Twitter or Facebook on Wrestling Overtime, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon.